It's the largest employer in our area, and about 100 Dixfield residents work there. If the New Page Mill were to go down, it would have a devastating effect on our entire local area. The 100 employees from Dixfield earn an average salary of $60,000 plus benefits. That's about $6 million it puts into the local economy. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers, for each paper manufacturing job in Maine, 3.28 other jobs are created directly for suppliers and contractors, and indirectly it creates 5 to 7 jobs in logging, transportation, retail, and other fields. For the 100 Dixfield residents alone, this comes out to 328 directly created jobs and 500 to 700 indirectly created jobs. If you take the whole 900 employees in the mill, that directly creates almost 3,000 other jobs, and indirectly it's 4,500 to 6,300 other jobs. And the 900 employees put $54 million into the local economy. If the mill were to shut down, it would devastate the tax base in Dixfield. I don't go to town meetings in Mexico and Rumford, but I'm sure it would probably have about the same effect. The Dixfield is already struggling to keep taxes down. The last couple of years, the town meetings have been very contentious, trying to cut every penny. We have a bare bones budget right now, and if Dixfield were to lose 100 of its probably the highest paying taxpayers in Dixfield, it would mean the end of the police department, serious cutbacks in fire protection. We'd most likely lose our library, and it would really have a devastating effect on the schools. I don't even want to think about how many teachers would end up being laid off. I think probably a lot of the people would be in the same boat would be if the mill would have closed down. I'd end up having to leave probably the state because there just aren't jobs here. When a mill like New Page shuts down, when it's an area's major employer, the repercussions go way beyond just the employees that are laid off. It hurts entire towns. About 15 years ago, I went to Oregon to visit friends, and we spent a good part of 2 weeks just traveling over the state. And this was in the mid-90s. It was right after all kinds of mills and lumber operations had been shut down because of the spotted owl. And it was really pathetic. I mean, town after town, literally whole towns with for sale signs, stores boarded up, schools closed, and most of the stores were closed. The few that were open, the parking lots were empty. And if things keep up the way they're going, I can see that happening to Maine, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to have to leave the state. So that's why we're asking you to get on board and help us with this. We really have to protect our manufacturing base.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, my name is Judy Lee Whittemore. I work in the New Page Mill up in Rumford for about 20 years now. I've been a single mother of two teenage daughters for nearly 15 years. One will be attending college in the fall. I cannot begin to fathom the effects that would go on in our community if the mill was to close. The devastation that would hit us would all be astronomical. Just to touch a few effects briefly, there'd be an endless supply of houses flooding the housing market. But who would buy them? I would have to let the bank take my house personally. I would have to go and live with one of my parents. At 42 years old with 2 teenage daughters, the thought of packing everything up and moving in with my father doesn't really excite me, nor would it him, I'm sure. The banks would also be affected. There would be no cashing of weekly checks, no mortgage payments, no Christmas club payments, no borrowing for loans, and lots of foreclosures from the former mill workers. There'd be no Christmas or birthday presents or any other celebrating going on in our family for a long time. My daughters wouldn't be able to attend college, for I wouldn't be able to sign those loans for them. If the Rumpert Mill was to close, surely all the little mom and pop stores would soon close too. Filling stations, clothing stores would also lose their customers as well. Our town's only grocery store would have to lay off their workers for the lack of customers buying groceries. I would not be able to buy the average amount of groceries that I buy now. If I did, it would be on a state-supplied food stamps. I personally would not be paying for my cable, phone, lights, sewer bills, town taxes, registrations for my recreational vehicles and more. All these businesses would not receive my money from me or my former co-workers. Local clubs, beauty salons, mechanical service garage, hardware stores, restaurants, they would all be greatly affected. I would like to read a letter from a fellow employee who suffered through our last large layoff. This is a sample letter of more than 400 handwritten letters that our mill workers have written so far. Dear honorable ladies and gentlemen, in March of 2009, I was laid off from the Rumford paper mill. From that point, I began to collect unemployment of $344 and a big $25 stimulus. That's about half of what I was making clear. I had to cash in my 401 just to make our car payments, which I ended up losing anyway. I fell behind in the rent, cable, and phone, etc. I broke my hand, and that ended up being a $500 plus bill. I had no insurance at the time. $80 of that was because I was a first-time patient. What is that? It took me 6 months to find another job, making the same amount as unemployment. That was the second highest paying job in the area. If I lose my job due to illegal dumping, I wouldn't have any money to move. I'll have nowhere to go. I'm playing catch up right now and would like to get ahead someday. I financially suffered this year, owing the state of Maine $853.19 for not taking taxes out of unemployment. Feels like a slap in the face. Please stop illegal dumping on our industry. The state needs our state start giving back to our Americans. Thank you.